Hey, what's up? It's Primetime Football, and today I'm going to be giving my Week 12 predictions. Going to go over North Carolina, Notre Dame, Iowa State, Texas, Auburn, Alabama, Colorado, USC, LSU, Texas A&M, and Georgia, South Carolina. So first off, let's just talk about Notre Dame, UNC. I think it's the early game on Friday. Should be a pretty interesting game, but it would have been better had UNC not had two bad losses to Virginia and FSU. But even with that, still a top 20 matchup, and it does affect Notre Dame a lot. A win does help them a little bit, although I don't think it changes their path to the playoffs, but a loss definitely hurts them quite a bit. Doesn't allow them to lose to Clemson in the ACC championship. It gives them a little bit less, I guess you could say, less room for error if they lose this game. Or basically no room for error. But basically Notre Dame this season so far, offense has been a little bit inconsistent. It has been improving as of late. Earlier in the season, they were struggling a lot. Only scored 12 on Louisville. Terrible defense. Then they come out, had a really good game against Clemson. No, there were injuries on Clemson's defense, but still a really good game. Had a pretty good game in their last matchup against Boston College. But the real strength of this team is the defense. They're allowing just 16 points per game. I think that might be the best in the country, if not towards the top. But they've definitely been really good this season. UNC so far this season, their offense has been elite. Sam Howell is even better than what everybody thought he was going to be, which was really good. The run game is elite as well. They've got, two backs who are over 800 yards already, averaging over 7 yards a carry. They've got two really good wide receivers, and I think his name is Diami Brown or something like that, and Daz Newsome. But yeah, they're just really good right now. Very, very balanced, and they have a lot of guys that can make plays. Their defense, however, has not been good, and it's cost them some games. They lost to Virginia and FSU because of the defense, It's just kind of been hurting this team this season. Now, in Notre Dame's win over Clemson, what they did to Clemson's offense to sort of slow them down was they keyed in on Travis Etienne, who is really the main guy on that offense. With Trevor out, DJ is a little bit less of a running threat than Trevor. Clemson, their wide receivers are nothing special. Not as good as UNC's for sure. And what Notre Dame did was they kind of keyed in on Travis Etienne. They held Clemson to around 30 rushing yards, which is insane. And Clemson was trying to find the ways to get Etienne the ball, and Notre Dame was really just shutting it down. And making the receivers for Clemson make plays, which they did some, but they couldn't do it the whole game. Now, the difference between Clemson's offense and UNC's offense is, like I said, UNC's offense has multiple guys that can kind of take the load and make plays. They're just more balanced, not balanced, but more spread out with their production. Then instead of having one guy that you can key in on, like Clemson, and it makes them a lot harder to defend. So I think Notre Dame will struggle in this game. I think UNC scores 40 or more points. Clemson scored 34 in regular time. I think UNC scores more than that. And as bad as their defense is, I don't think Notre Dame has the firepower and the consistency to go score for score with UNC down the field. In games this season where it's an elite offense versus an elite defense, what we've seen is the elite offense wins that game. And even last year as well. Of course, LSU against Georgia last year, they scored 37 points. Alabama versus Georgia this year, 41 points. The offenses that are elite, they're going to get their points. It's just going to happen. There's not anything you can do about it. You can do your best to slow him down, but it's not like it used to be where you can shut him down. It's just not like that anymore. So, I don't think Notre Dame can necessarily keep up with UNC, so I'm going to have to go with the upset here. I got UNC 45, Notre Dame 38. Now we have Iowa State at Texas. Texas needs to win this game to keep their Big 12 championship hopes alive. If they lose, they're out. If they win, it goes into some sort of weird tie between Oklahoma, Iowa State, and Texas, where like Texas would have beaten Iowa State would have beaten Oklahoma, and Oklahoma would have beaten Texas. Not exactly sure what the tiebreakers are there, but it would be something weird. Difference in this game really is Breece Hall. I don't really think he's going to be stopped. Texas has a decent run D, but not great, not good enough to, I think, stop him. He's been excellent this year. He's over 1,000 yards. I think maybe Najee Harris has had a little better of a season, but it's possible that Breece Hall has had the best season of all running backs this year. And I just don't think Sam Ehlinger has really been consistent enough this year to have a good enough game to beat Iowa State. So I'm going to go Iowa State 31, Texas 20. Now we've got Auburn at Alabama. This game meant a lot more last year, had some playoff implications. I think a lot of people, everybody knows Alabama is probably going to win this game. Their offense is just elite. It's been elite all season, even without Jalen Waddle. The defense has been playing much better. Granted, it's played some not so great offenses, but it's played a lot better. In Auburn, their offense has kind of had some struggles this year. Bo Nix kind of started off slow. He's still not playing great, but he's playing a little bit better now. Tank Bigsby, he's really great. I'm not sure if he's playing. I know he got hurt in the Tennessee game. They need him to play this weekend if they want a chance. Their defense has had some problems, but it's overall been pretty decent. For this game, you know an elite offense is going to score points. So you know Alabama is going to score at least 40 points, I guess you would have to say. And can Auburn really score that many points against Alabama? I don't think so. I mean, they didn't even do it last year. I know they won 48 to 45, but they only scored 34 offensive points in that game. And they had a great game. And Alabama's defense was a lot worse last year than it is now. So I don't think they can score as many as they did last year. So I'm going to have to go 45-24 Alabama. Okay, now we've got Colorado at USC. This is a huge game for the Pac-12 championship. Winner is in the driver's seat for the Pac-12 South. USC this year, offense has been a little bit underperforming so far in 3 games. I guess Keaton Slavis has not quite taken the jump that we all thought he would. Obviously, it's still early. Been a while since they played, so I'm not going to make any decisions about him so far. I still know he's a great quarterback. The defense has been, I guess, a little bit above average. It hasn't been terrible. It's been decent. I think they allowed, 27 to Arizona State. It was like 28 or something to Arizona, and then 17 to Utah. So not terrible, not great either. Colorado this year, they're an offensive team. Great offense, bad defense, great run game. It's kind of what powers their team. So this game should be pretty high scoring. The offenses do have good matchups. For Colorado, they have a good run game against USC, who doesn't have a good run D. And for USC, they have a really good passing game against Colorado, who has a terrible pass defense, at least so far this season. So in a game like this, I think I'll side with the talent level and the quarterback play. So I'm going to go USC 41, Colorado 34. Next up, we got LSU at Texas A&M. This is a big game for Texas A&M, not because it should be close, but because they've been off for a few weeks, and they really need to make kind of a big impression in their last few games to kind of help that recency bias if they want a chance at making the playoffs. So they need to blow LSU out. And LSU this season, their offense, I feel like they got off to a really good start with Miles Brennan, but ever since he's been out, they kind of have not been great. The defense is historically bad against the pass. Run defense is average. Texas A&M this season, their offense has been pretty good ever since the first game. They've been really balanced. Isaiah Spiller's really come out and been really good. Kellen Mond's having his best season yet. I think a lot of that has come from having a better run game. It's kind of made things easier for him. And their defense is actually pretty good, especially against the run. They're top 10 in the country. So elite run defense. Pass defense is not so great. But LSU's pass D is worse. And I don't think they'll be able to stay in this game because of that. So I think Mon should have a great game. Look for that. And on the offensive side of the ball for LSU, without Miles Brennan, I don't think they'll be able to keep up. If he were there, I would say maybe for a little bit they could. But I just don't think without him they'll be able to score enough points, even close to enough points. So I got Texas A&M getting revenge for last season, 48-17. Okay, last game we've got Georgia at South Carolina. JT Daniels, big game last week against Mississippi State in his debut. But I think this game is honestly more important to kind of show what he's going to be for Georgia than last week's was. Because he hasn't played in 15 months. So, yes, I'm not trying to take away from the fact that he played great. It was insane. But now South Carolina has tape on them in Georgia's offense, whereas before they didn't have anything. Also, last week, Mississippi State went out to sell the run, make JT Daniels beat them, which he did. I guess you could look at it another way and say, because Georgia did not have a good run game last week, JT Daniels had more pressure on him, and he already did have pressure with it being his first game, but he had more pressure on him. And so I guess you'll just have to be the one to decide that. South Carolina, not really having a great year, just fired their coach, Will Muschamp. Both sides of the ball, they're just not great. I think they are making the quarterback switch this week to Luke Doughty. Yeah, they just haven't been great this season. Georgia's defense has had a rough last few games, but a lot of people are saying that there's just some weakness for them now. No, it's not. Georgia still has a great defense. It's still one of the best in the country. They've had 2 All-American senior leaders out on defense, Jordan Davis and Richard LeCounte. Jordan Davis should be back this weekend. But anyways, they've played against an elite offense in Florida who was taking advantage of their injuries for sure. And then Mississippi State, which is the air raid, weird offense. You need your leaders for that one. You need kind of a in-the-box safety like Richard LeCounte. But anyways, this defense is fine. I do think, though, they will lock down South Carolina in this game. So, on the other side of the ball, I think JT will have a good game. And he will have a little bit more help this week. Here's why. Like I said last week, Mississippi State, their kind of plan was to shut down the run game, make JT Daniels beat them. It didn't work out. This week, South Carolina is going to have a different approach. They're not just going to sell out for the run game. So I do think Georgia's run game, which has been really good this season, will have a good game and will give him a lot of help, take some pressure off of him. And so I think they're going to have a really good game on offense for Georgia. So I got Georgia getting revenge, just like Texas A&M, for last year's upset loss to South Carolina, 49-17. Okay, well, that's going to do it for the video. Go ahead and comment down below if I'm being an idiot, if I'm right, if I'm wrong, all that stuff. And subscribe. It would really help out. Thank you.